Welcome to the REI Diamond Interview, your source for real estate investment jewels of wisdom with Dan Breslin.
Welcome to the REI Diamonds podcast, your source for real estate investment jewels of wisdom. I'm Dan Breslin, and on these REI Diamond interviews, I bring you the real estate investment community's brightest minds. Today I'm here with a special guest, a friend, a business partner of mine, Aaron Lockhart. He's one of Chicago's power wholesalers who's starting to really ramp up in volume and, do some bigger numbers here. So Aaron, welcome to the call.
Thank you, Dan. Pleasure to be here.
So tell me a little bit, and our listeners, tell us a little bit about your background, what you did before you got into real estate investment, and how your path ended up leading into real estate.
Well, one of my first things that I did to get into real estate started back when I was 19, 20 years old. Watched a infomercial from Carlton Sheets, buy property with no money down. Instantly went to my family, borrowed some money, and did like this mentorship program, right? So I was working with one of Carlton's mentors for a month or two, and he kind of got me into the business a little bit and, introduced me to a lot of concepts. And I actually took those things that I learned in that program and bought a property. No money down. The house was so nice at first that I actually lived in it for a year and a half. And then at that point, I turned it into an investment property and actually held on to that investment property for about another 4 years. And using some creative strategies, I gathered by the time I was 23 years old, I had 3 different investment properties that I was collecting rents on. So that's how I got started. And then by the time I was 27, though, I was in a business that had me moving all over the place, and I was doing a lot of things with my career. I never did real estate full-time until just a few years ago. I always had a full-time job. So by the time I was 27, I was kind of burnt out from being the whole long-distance landlord thing, wanted to break from real estate. So I actually sold my properties. My girlfriend at the time got pregnant. Now she's my wife, and 3 kids later, and that's a whole other story, but that's how I kind of got away from real estate a little bit. So I got into corporate America, got into sales and marketing in a couple of different industries, from wireless security to homes, service master, even a little stint with True Green ChemLawn, and even working for an online university, all different types of sales and marketing jobs. So I did that for about 13 years. And when I lost my job back in 2012, it was an opportunity for me to work for myself. Instead of beating myself up or throwing myself right back out there on the job market, I instantly went into self-employment mode. So the first year in 2012, I really didn't get to real estate first. I did some online internet businesses, and I'm a professional musician, so I played for all different types of groups and traveling artists that year. Didn't really make the money that I wanted to, and that's when in 2013 I decided, you know what, I'm going to put all that effort I was doing in music and online business into real estate, and I haven't looked back, and that was back in March of 2013.
Nice. I mean, we'll probably get to some of the story to elaborate. You look back a little bit. I think the real estate lifestyle with the flexibility in your schedule allows you to still pursue some of the professional musician, since that's something you're passionate about, right, Aaron?
Yeah, that's very true. Real estate has afforded me a couple of different things. Definitely I still do music, but now it's not a stress. I treat it more like a hobby, even though it does help me pay the bills a little bit because real estate is doing very well for me. But definitely I still play for my band, and I play for certain artists. And, it allows me the freedom to work from home a lot of times. So now I get to spend a lot more time with my 3 kids. And, here it's summertime, and I'm taking them to basketball camps and swimming lessons. And I can do all those things while still working, 6 to 8 hours a day on my business and being successful.
For me personally, I like to go hit the gym, so weightlifting is like something that's my recreational activity for years and years and years on end. Since 2006, when I got into the business, it was like, one-track mind. The only thing I thought about was real estate and business, and, every last minute had to be invested in that. And now I've kind of, since moving to Chicago here, I've been able to enjoy some of the flexibility of the schedule that, my real estate lifestyle affords. Hanging out with my daughter, going to the gym at, 12:30 in the afternoon, 1 o'clock. Well, most people with 9 to 5 don't really have that same luxury. And it's nice being able to kind of like get out and interact with the world at the less busy times of the day. But tell me about, how did you get your first, the first deal was back in when you were 20, 21 from Carlton Sheets, and you've kind of positioned yourself as a wholesaler, power wholesaler here in Chicago. So how did you kind of get started on the wholesaler path? Were there some seminars or Carlton Sheets type packages? I mean, how did you find your way into that?
That's a great question. It's 2013, right? It's like January, February. You know, everybody's going through their New Year's resolutions. I'm having meetings with my friends. Like, this is literally what I'm doing. I'm literally having different meetings with different friends of mine, you know, talking about different ideas that I have and just seeing what I can get into because I really wanted to stay self-employed. And I had this urgency because I knew my unemployment was running out in like August of 2013. So I had to like figure out something like in 5 to 7 months that was going to be a plan, or I knew I was going to be back to the normal 9 to 5. So I knew that I had a passion at that particular moment for just a couple of things. I knew I had a passion for real estate. I knew I had a passion for music. I knew I had a passion for technology. So I had a friend of mine ask me if I had heard of wholesaling before, because I knew that I could get into the whole buy property with no money down and try to do lease options and doing rentals and stuff, but that really wasn't what I wanted to do. And I didn't have any experience in doing fix and flips, you know, outside of one project that I did before. So a friend of mine told me about wholesaling. We started doing some research, right? We started looking at different people on the internet, Preston Ely, Sean Terry, Joe McCall. You know, we looked at like 5 or 7, you know, probably about 7 different programs out there. One that struck us was Jerry Norton, the Mentor Financial Group, and we actually paid to get into that program. And that taught me about wholesaling. You know, he had this cool website with all these different types of videos and lessons and all the forms you can need and, you know, live recorded webinars and stuff. So that's how I got started. I studied that program for about, you know, I got scared at first because it was uncharted territory, right? So straight analysis paralysis. For 3 months, all I wanted to do was study, right? That's all I did was study, YouTube, everything I get on the internet, read all types of books, maybe 12, 15 different books on wholesaling, and then I just jumped out there. So now this is like, you know, May of that year is when I jumped out there to wholesaling. So let me tell you this real quickly. Rough story at first. Like, you know, I hate to say this because it seems like I'm trying to bash Jerry or nothing, but, you know, they gave us this criteria, and they sold us on this program that, you know, you go out here, you find properties that meet our criteria, and you don't even have to build a buyer's list. You can wholesale these deals back to us, and we'll pay you $10,000 per deal. So that's what we did for 3 months. All we did was focus on trying to scrape deals off the MLS, you know, 8 hours a day, 6, 7 days a week. We're looking on the MLS, trying to find good deals, go out here, try to get them under contract. We got about 7, 8 deals at least under contract and took them back to this group, and they didn't buy any of them, right? So, you know, remember I told you at the beginning of the year, I was looking for that. I had that deadline by August. I had to figure out something that was going to work because I knew my unemployment was running out. So after about 7 or 8 deals, Dan, that they didn't buy anything, that 8th deal, I said, you know what, I'm going to sell this myself. And I got into public records. I looked at all the people. I looked up all the people that had bought properties in that area of where my deal was in the last couple of months, and I started looking them up on the internet and calling them, pounding the phones. These 100 calls a day, and I built up a buyer's list, and I sold that deal and closed it in August, made $5,000, and that convinced me that I had found something that I wanted to stick with. And then my second deal was like divine intervention confirmation. I made $20,000 on my second deal just 2 months later, 2 or 3 months later, and the rest is history.
Nice. That reminds me of my first deal. It was kind of the same way. I ended up, you know, I was down to my last couple bucks. It was the same uncharted territory. I didn't luckily go with somebody, you know, with the same kind of path, but this $6,000 profit I made on that first deal let me know that, you know, this thing was legitimate and it was real. And you did bring a point up, Aaron, that I kind of want to touch on for anybody who's maybe just getting started. And, you know, a little later in the call, we're going to talk about, like, for legitimate buyers, you know, VIP buyers. If you're a cash buyer listening to this thing, I encourage you to listen to the end, even though we're kind of starting in kindergarten here, talking about, you know, the new challenges of wholesale and things like that. Anybody in any part of the country, my suggestion to them would be, you know, when you hear these like national buyers or national wholesalers or these virtual wholesalers, I personally am a strong believer in listening to somebody who has a specific result. So I'm not going to take advice from somebody who doesn't have the result in their life that I'm after. And as a wholesaler, I'm after, closed deals. But the one suggestion is to find somebody who's doing that in your local market, because a market in, South Side, Chicago, Inglewood is going to be different than, South Philadelphia, Society Hill is going to be different than Clearwater, Tampa Bay area, Florida, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So every different real estate market has so many different characteristics to it that, just like you said, you found 7, 8 contracts, but it wasn't to a group of people who were like present physically in your market doing business on the ground who knew the exact dynamics of your market with that deal. And then lo and behold, on the 8th one that was still denied by the group, you walk away with a $5,000 profit. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, man. And that wasn't my first mistake. I definitely had some ups and downs in the first couple of years of doing wholesaling. There was this big push with hedge funds, right? Everybody wanted to get on the hedge fund train and be wholesaling 8 to 10 deals a month to these hedge funds, because they were throwing these brokers out there saying that they had budgets for 30, 40, 50 deals a month, right? And I remember, again, trying to deal with some hedge funds, not local, deal with brokers that wasn't local, gave me these great criteria, went out there and I remember I submitted 18, 19 deals to those guys, and out of 19 deals, they bought one, just spinning my wheels. All my success comes back to the same thing, and that's me going back to people that are actively doing deals in my market. If I look at all the deals that I've sold over the last year and a half since I've gotten really consistent in wholesaling, it goes back to the same thing. Cash buyers here in Chicago on the ground doing deals. Everybody else is fluff, stories, gurus, and hopes and prayers.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I took a phone call from a buyer who was trying to purchase one of the deals we had in Philadelphia cooking. And the guy tells me, I'm in Vancouver. And immediately I go on the defensive and I start interrogating him like I'm an FBI agent or something, hunting for the killer. Mm-hmm. I'm like, tell me about your last deal. Like, you know what I mean? He's telling me that, oh yeah, I'm good. I got contacts in the market. I said, yeah, I need to know, legitimately, like I want to know the address of the last property that you purchased on what date, and you put how much construction in there and you sold it for how much. I'll do that. So if I'm ever trying to determine whether or not I have somebody who's a legitimate buyer in the local market, I'll ask them this simple question. If you're taking notes, you write it down. Tell me about your last deal, right? And if you have a legitimate buyer, like any legitimate buyer has details for their last deal. Like we're, in a sense, we kind of sometimes like to brag a little bit as buyers. Well, oh yeah, I bought this one and, got this great deal on it, and, usually you can sell some details. Like, I look up at my board, I just bought one, and, I stopped in there to the house that we're rehabbing myself in Media, Pennsylvania, and we got the dumpster in the driveway. We already hung the doors, the kitchen's got it, we're waiting for permits right now. We're probably going to put about $50,000 to $55,000 in there. We bought it for, I think, $165,000, and we plan on selling it somewhere in the $325,000 range. So like a legitimate buyer can spout off the details of one of the recent deals without, you're not going to offend, a legitimate buyer by asking that question. But if you have somebody on the other end of the line who's just trying to wholesale property and, passing themselves off as a cash buyer, they're trying to bring one of their buyers to the table and you say, tell me about your last deal. A lot of times they're going to stutter and kind of stumble to kind of get to that point. So what will be the biggest deal you did, Aaron? I mean, second deal usually is a pretty good one for a lot of people. It just seems to be how it falls out. I mean, let's talk about when, things went in. We talked about some failures and, 18 submitted deals that went nowhere. Let's talk about one that went in the right direction for you.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. So I guess the best deal I've done to date was a deal I did from Arlington Heights, which I made $25,000 assignment fee on. That was an exciting deal. I sold it within a matter of days. Honestly, I got the contract on a Thursday, but, went out there, walked the house with the person, met with them. We stayed there for a while. I was at the house at least an hour. She was a music lover. So by the time she found out that I played, several instruments and I had a band and that my kids play instruments and sing and stuff, we clicked. And I swear by the time the meeting was over, she was inviting us up to her property out in Cape Cod. But it was a great time. We just talked about a lot of different things. She had a couple different pianos in her house and a pool table, all things we could talk about. So I built some strong rapport with that buyer, called her the next day, made the offer. She accepted it. I drove out there and got the contract signed. And specifically with this deal, I didn't even market this deal. Like, I slapped it up on my website because I do that with every deal, but I didn't even put an email campaign out. I didn't put it out on different web channels. I made phone calls. I literally made 5 to 6 phone calls to buyers that were on my VIP list, my preferred buyers. They get first look, that I knew had the price range of what I had that deal into and that could turn around and do the kind of work and everything. So I called them. Out of the 5 or 6 calls that I made, 4 of them showed up the next day. This was on a Saturday now, okay? 4 of them showed up on the next day to see the property. And one, in particular, I won't give his name, one literally hounded me until late Sunday evening the following day. It was my birthday. I'll never forget it for the rest of my days on earth. It was my birthday, and it was Mother's Day, all on May 10th. So I got my family out, my wife, my mom, my sister. We're all out at this great Brazilian steakhouse. We're eating away. My phone is blowing up. I'm sending him text messages. Can't talk right now. He's not taking no for an answer. He keeps calling, keeps texting. You know, he was just so adamant about getting me to agree because I was telling him that I was going to just throw it out there on an open house because I wanted somebody to give me my asking price. Like, I was not going to budge my asking price. In fact, I wanted more than my asking price. And but he was willing to pay me what I originally asked. It was a fair deal. He told me he could close quickly. I knew he had the cash. So after calling you, Dan, and venting to you a little bit, we decided to move forward with him. So, yeah, I made the agreement that Sunday. So what is that, 3 days? Within 3 days, I had the deal sold, and we closed, 2 weeks later?
Yeah, that thing was lightning quick.
It was lightning quick, yeah.
You know, the key for people listening into this, if you're buying property and, you know, let me put it this way. Some people, aren't really sure of the whole wholesaler market, and I feel like there's, kind of like watching back from the other side of the fence at the game going on because they're not really sure how the whole thing works. But if you're going to have a successful relationship with a wholesaler, the wholesalers specialize in bringing off-market deals to the table, and in order to become one of the preferred buyers, you kind of got to act the right way. So, Aaron, you called 3-4 buyers on a Saturday, and they ran right out there, or did they say, no, I only work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, so I'll see you Monday at 10? I mean, how do your preferred buyers act and behave in order to maintain that spot? Because I know you got 500 buyers or 400 buyers or something. You can't call them all, right?
Right. No, I had a group of maybe about 10 or 12 people targeted. I target, depending on what the price range is, what the area is and things like that. So, but even out of all the buyers, you only have a certain amount that you are proven, right, that have actually closed business with you or shown you a proof of funds that looks legitimate or came highly recommended, whatever. You only have a certain amount that has actually gotten to that preferred list where you got them on speed dial, you call them right away. So I literally made a few phone calls on a Friday. 2 people went out the same day, and the other 3 went out the following day. And it was actually on the following day, that Saturday, when a couple of buyers went out to the property, I had threw a little marketing campaign out so they saw that I put it out there to my buyers, and I was going to have this big open house on Monday. And that's what the urgency, those at that point, they were calling me trying to get me to close the deal out that weekend, and as I said, one of my buyers just would not let me go. So to answer your question directly, I called them. Some went out the same day. The others were there by the following afternoon.
So you got to move fast. If a wholesaler gives you the courtesy of a phone call to give you the off-market deal, you got to jump right then and there, right?
Right.
I remember.
Yeah, and I have a couple buyers like that too, Dan. I mean, I have a couple buyers that I can call, and they'll literally try to get over to the property the exact same day. They understand.
And who's getting the phone calls when the deal pops up in their neighborhood next time?
They do. They get the first call every time.
The guy that runs right out there, right?
Yep, every time.
I guess it was about a year and a half ago or so, and it was a Sunday night, and I'm not all 100% about real estate. I do take some breaks here and there, but we were going to go get ice cream. It was a Sunday night. I was at my mom's house with my daughter, and an email came across from one of my wholesalers, one of the contacts. We hadn't done any business up to that point. And I immediately saw that it was like a realistic deal. Because let's face it, a lot of wholesale deals, you and I, we work together, Aaron. We put wholesale deals together. Sometimes the numbers, sometimes the deals are hotter than others, and, they're all below market value. But when you see certain ones come across, like I did this Sunday night, I put the ice cream trip on hold. I drove to 25 minutes down on a Sunday night at about 5:30, 6 o'clock. It was about this time of year. And looked through the property, called the guy right up, and said, all right, I'll lock it up. And, he was kind of hemming and hawing the same way that, we were on the Arlington Heights deal. I ended up meeting him first thing, Monday morning, the following day, and checkbook in hand, ready to do the deal. And we ended up getting the deal closed, and we locked it up, and the guy ended up like a $25,000 or $30,000 higher offer above his asking price on that deal, a day or two after it went under contract with me and my group, who ended up settling the deal out. But I got that deal because I ran right out there and took a look at the lead on a Sunday night. And it's kind of the same thing for my buyers. I mean, I got a guy who I actually flipped property with today, but when we first started back in 2006, I remember I found the one deal and I closed it, and I was like meeting him at the networking events, and he asked me the one day, he's like, you got anything cooking? And I'm like, yeah, this guy's trying to burn, somebody just burned down a house. And he's, oh, I got a buyer for that. And we closed that deal. We split like $16,000 on that deal. And then my third deal ever, he ended up buying that one from me. It was a flip, and we were negotiating the assignment fee. He pretty much gave me the full assignment fee, but he had negotiated this thing where he's paying me like $5,000 of it, 3 months later or something, and like the first $8,000 up front. But the point that I want to make here with him is when we were negotiating that fee, I think it was like $15,000 or whatever it was. He ended up calling me back, separate phone call altogether from the negotiation after we already said, all right, the deal's done and the paperwork was signed and, I had assigned him the deal. He called me back and said, listen, Dan, here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to give you an additional $500 right now on this assignment, and in exchange for that $500, I want you to pick this phone up and call me first whenever you get a deal in that neighborhood in Delaware County, Pennsylvania. And I forget, maybe we did 15 assignments since then. I've probably flipped 15, 20 houses. I think we own like 6 or 7 together. But he's the first one that finds out, about any of the deals I got cooking. He literally paid me to be one of the preferred buyers.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things I like to tell people, when people approach me and say, hey, call me with a deal, I kind of tell them one of those stories also. And there's a couple things, I guess, that can make you continue calling your preferred buyers, and a couple things that are like a big turnoff, right? So for me personally, I want somebody that goes out and makes a decision or an offer immediately. I don't have time to wait till Monday morning. If it's a Friday night and I call with a deal and you're down the shore, I'm sorry, but, the deal's got to go by Monday morning, and more than likely it's sold by then.
Right.
And I want people to pay full asking price, man. I understand not all deals work that, you can pay the full asking price and you can make your offer. But, if I have a buyer who pays me my full asking price, I'm calling him again on the second call. Without a doubt, next deal comes up, I'm calling him. I mean, are there any things that specifically you can think of, Aaron, that would help somebody maintain the position on your preferred buyers list?
Yeah, I mean, you're hitting the nails on the head, man. Absolutely being able to get out there quickly and make a decision quickly. Definitely paying me my asking price and being able to close quickly. It's one thing that somebody can make a decision quickly, but another thing if they send me a contract that they want 30 days or 40 days to close, So somebody that can close quickly would get my attention, and somebody that's consistent, that's also key, because you look for somebody that can purchase several properties per month or that has high goals for the year so that you can, keep calling them when you have more deals available, So all those types of things would keep them in my preferred list, all those types of things.
So it's kind of tough then for a guy that's maybe flipping 2 houses, 3 houses a year to stay on your preferred list, right? Is that kind of what I'm hearing here?
Unfortunately for me, yeah, it would be just because of the sheer volume of deals that I do on a monthly basis. They just wouldn't hear from me often enough. Because I know people that can do 5 to 10 deals a month, and so I'm going to go to those first. So unfortunately, they would just fall below the totem pole because I know that I can only pick up the phone and call them once every couple of months, which just doesn't work for me.
Yep.
You won't stay on my radar that way.
What about these guys with hard money? Like me personally, I don't even really like to deal with anyone if they don't have cash.
Yeah. I've tried a couple hard money deals, and my experience hasn't gone well, so they probably get it the worst for me. I mean, like when people tell me that they have hard money, that's probably one of the worst things they could do because they're definitely getting the stiff arm treatment at that point. Like my demeanor changes, my conversation changes, and by all means, if I find out that you're doing hard money before we've inked the deal, oh no, I'm going to talk you out of the deal. Like I'm literally going to move you into second or third position. I may not even answer your calls or texts for a couple of days just while I'm making sure I could try to find a cash buyer because cash wins always. And I tell people that I'm so tough with hard money right now, I actually tell people that up front. Like, listen, I'm fine. You want to give me a contract, for hard money, that's fine. But I'm letting you know right now, if the first cash person I talk to, they're going to move in the first place on this deal. I mean, that's just how I am because they tell you that they can close in 10 days when they actually mean they can close in 2 months, and that's if they can close. It's a nightmare. My experience with hard money has been a nightmare. I have not had one smooth transaction with hard money. So I actually try to refuse to even go that route again, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and it seems like as a wholesaler, or even if you were a real estate agent that was dealing with somebody with a hard money situation, there's a party that's negotiating and driving the speed of the deal who's not at the negotiating table and has no skin in the game. So you get a wholesale deal, right, Aaron, and you promise the seller a certain amount of cash in a certain amount of time. Usually it's a 30-day contract, and they want to go to settlement and get their money as soon as possible. It's not like a standard,
right,
MLS realtor transaction buying an REO where the bank doesn't care if the settlement gets pushed back 30 days or 60 days. So then the hard money lender who they come in and control the speed of the deal, and now they want to, extend the settlement another 10 days and another 10 days after that, and they honestly don't care about, whatever promises you made as a wholesaler to that seller in order to get that, negotiated low price to begin with. And then another thing I've seen hard money lenders do, and we were actually involved in a deal ourselves where we were buying properties and we kind of had like a hard money lender / contractor / basically a hedge fund who was buying property, fixing the property up, and then selling the property, and then we would get a share of the profits. Well, they wait until 2 days before settlement and then put us on notice, oh, hey, by the way, we need you guys to go back to the seller and get them to accept, a sale price $10,000 less than what was originally negotiated.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, we got $130,000 negotiated price, I believe it was, and we negotiated that price specifically because there was a mortgage on the property for $130,000. So we were expected by this hard money lender to go back and have them come up with $10,000 in cash from, God only knows where in order to settle the deal. And then they had the nerve to suggest that we put our own $10,000 in there. So it's like I've witnessed the hard money lender come back and chop the seller, chop the original deal too many times to make it worth my while if I'm in a position of signing a deal, wholesaling a deal, to even want to get started, down that track. You know what I mean?
Oh, man, I had a hard money lender, similar to your situation. They waited the day before closing or 2 days before closing and cut the estimated ARV of the property, the subject property, down by 40%. Literally took like over 25, 30 grand off the table where it made it impossible to close. I had another hard money lender, because sometimes as wholesalers, we have to go through a lot of different things to get the title clean, right? You're emailing the probates, you're sending letters out to probates, and people sometimes come back to you. They know they're the heir to the property, but, the will isn't completely tied, or they never went, put themselves in title. So you got to do a lot of different things at the title company, and sometimes we don't actually do it until the closing, right? Because especially like for myself, I've had to put myself on title so I could transfer it to my buyer sometimes. And I'm sure it's like not going to put myself in title on a property that I've never owned and don't have, complete control over for a couple of weeks and put myself in responsibilities and stuff like that. So, this makes it so much harder, so many different stipulations, appraisers, inspections. We go to our sellers buyers have to understand, to get the wholesale price, we have to tell these people we're buying it as is, without all these inspections and clauses and stipulations, without all these hoops to jump through. In order for us to get this low price, we have to tell them that we're going to pay most of the closing costs. So we can't turn around and take this creative outside-the-box deal and put it in a conventional loan type of a thing, which hard money tends to typically be. It's just like getting a conventional loan in a lot of ways. That's just my experience. I totally agree.
Yeah, and I'm on board. So then on the flip side, right, I've had a handful of deals, Aaron, which is like the other side of this, that have gone to settlement with hard money where I never heard about the hard money. I never found out about the hard money. No one ever mentioned the hard money. I only found out like postpartum after the deal settlement that the guy used hard money loan on one of the properties that went to settlement. So like this guy that I'm referring to, and I won't name his name, but he's a savvy investor, right? He's not a beginner, and he's got like enough of his own cash. He's got enough private money, and he'll like supplement his private money sources with a hard money guy at like 12%. The guy's pretty reasonable. He's like a soft hard money lender.
Okay.
But I never found out that it was even a hard money loan ever throughout the deal, ever. Not at settlement, never. And then later on he told me, oh, yeah, I used, so-and-so, who's a mutual friend of ours who does hard money. So, I mean, I guess I noticed those deals where the hard money lender actually funded the deal being very experienced investors who had access to cash and had already, built up portfolios, or they had, a proven track record. So I guess, the hard money gripes that you and I are having right now are like, newbie investors who are doing their first or second project, and that's how they're funding.
Pretty much.
Yeah, hard money guy.
Pretty much. I agree. Which, let's face it, unfortunately, hard money lenders are typically, their client are the newbies, right? It's very rare that you get these seasoned investors that are using hard money, because most of them are just going to use cash, or they're using a line of credit from a bank at that point. So
let's switch our topic up here. This is something I haven't really talked about on any of the REI Diamonds podcast interviews yet, and it's something that, so you and I, Aaron, we met, I guess last November, a fluke email networking opportunity, and I jumped and hopped on a plane and came out and, met you. And then we were able to develop a relationship where, I'm doing a lot of the marketing, I'm doing a lot of the back end stuff to get the phone to ring, and you're kind of doing a lot of the on the street stuff, so that I was able to kind of like, we started our business while I was still in Philadelphia, here in the Chicago market. One of the reasons that I was able to, or that I chose to do business with you, and I choose to continue doing business with you, is that you maintain a high level of integrity. So you say you're going to do something, and then you do that thing that you promised. And I think any time that you're in business with anybody else, you need to be shooting straight with people if you want to continue doing business. So there's like a line of thinking that I noticed when I got into business in 2006, and we went to a seminar, and this woman was up there teaching in front of the class. She was teaching us about contracts, and she says she negotiated this deal in Kansas, and it was this really nice house for $200,000 and some odd thousand, and then a day before settlement, she's like proud, she's prideful, boastful of this in the front of the class. And she says, I went through and I did a roof inspection 2 days before settlement, and the roof needed to be done. And she said, no, I went back to the seller and I said, hey, listen, you got to, change this roof up. This is a $20,000 roof, and you're going to need to take care of it. And the guy said, no, that's an as-is sale. What are you talking about? And she said, no, it's right here in the contract. You just didn't read it, but there it is. Seller, roof inspection, roof warranty, whatever the terminology was. But what she had done was she had led that seller to believe it was an as-is sale and that it was going to be a no bullshit kind of situation. And then the paperwork contained a pile of bullshit when they went to the settlement table. And this guy grudgingly agrees to his paperwork fraud that he perpetrated, or that the woman perpetrated, and he, went to settlement because he was under the gun and had to get that property settled. So I think it's important, like you and I, that our style of business, Aaron, when we go and tell a seller that a property is as is, very rarely, unless some new information about some sort of catastrophe, situation with the condition of the property comes up, will we go back and kind of like renegotiate. But we don't like bury the closing costs language in the contract and then like spring that on them at the last minute at the settlement table. Do you have any examples of anything you could share without saying any names about how anybody may have rubbed you the wrong way by not acting with integrity?
I tell you, man, that definitely I've had people that have, got me into deals and changed the terms after we've gotten into the deals before. And I'd say that, it's interesting that you said that was one of the main reasons you deal with me. And that's one of the main reasons I deal with you as well, Dan, is because you've definitely proven yourself to be someone that does things the right way. And, that's just really important for me that, I carry myself with a high level of character and integrity. Even though I have 13 years of sales management experience, I take pride. I wear it with a badge of honor that I'm not one of these guys out here that tells lies to get sales. I don't have to lie to people to, get them to do business with me. I can just be real. I can be myself. I can even speak from the heart a lot of times. In fact, I break the mold when it comes to how I even introduce myself. A lot of these guys, these wholesalers, they tell their clients, "Oh, I'm a cash buyer. This is what I do." When they've never flipped a house, they don't know what it is to be a landlord. And I don't operate that way. I tell people, listen, I let people know that, hey, I approach this deal with looking at it 3 different ways. I can turn this into a buy and hold, I can turn it into a fix and flip, or I can turn it into a deal for one of my partners. So, I let them know that no matter what I'm doing, my goal is to get you to settlement within 30 days. And I'm going to work hard and I'm going to explore multiple different avenues to achieve that. And that works for me because people respect that I'm being upfront with them. And that's why sometimes when I need a little bit more than 30 days to get rid of a sale, to get rid of a property, I get that time because people want to work with me because I've stayed in communication with them. I told them what I was doing from day one. They understand why there's a for sale sign in front of their house. They understand why their house may be getting listed on the MLS and why there's a locked box and I have a key to their property. And none of those things are a problem for me because of the way that I do conduct myself at the very beginning, and I'm consistent to the end, all the way to settlement. I'll stay away from the horror stories, but yes, there's definitely people out there that perpetrate themselves as one thing, and you find out that they're another. And you get one chance to mess it up with me. Once I find out that you don't stick to your word or you don't do things as you don't conduct the way that I do it, I stay clear away from you. And I don't give second chances. Like there's some wholesalers out there right now that are calling me and you, sending us emails. I mean, you've seen some names out there, and I tell you, I don't do business with them. I won't touch them. I don't care how successful they've gotten. I don't care what lessons they've learned. They established that rapport with me at an early stage in this, and I won't go back to that. I don't open those chapters again.
Yeah, I literally have. So Warren Buffett has bought multi-million-dollar companies without ever putting a contract together. So he has made. And, I may have the details butchered, maybe a little bit of folklore, but he has made deals with owners of companies, shaking hands, and then the deal goes to closing without ever having to split hairs or put everything in the contract. And I literally, myself personally, have closed deals, usually not with sellers, but with buyers of mine, and, kind of did the same thing. Handshake agreement, they're going to buy the property, we're going to renovate the property together. I might have to put $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 of my money on the table, and pretty much, it's a handshake. So it's, that's the kind of business I like to do with my buyers, and, any one of the people that I say, is a preferred buyer who's getting a phone call or a text message when I know I got something that's right up their alley. I mean, they're the kind of people spit in a handshake. We'll do an agreement, a contract. We'll do an assignment of contract. We'll do something to kind of put our terms in writing. It may be something as simple as an email, so we just don't forget the price and we have some sort of timestamp of our agreed upon price.
Right.
But these are straight shooters, man. The guys I do business with that get the phone call and get the preferential treatment, straight shooters. They're the kind of guys if they had 20, 30 grand of mine in a bank account and they were heading down the shore, they're heading out on vacation for a week, like I would sleep at night knowing they have my 10, 20, 30,000 for that whole week soundly, not worried that, my money was in jeopardy. I mean, that's the kind of people that I like to do business with,
Hear, hear, man. Absolutely. Same way. I'm clingy to those types of people. Like when I find one of those people, I befriend them. I stay close to them. I keep them close to me. Absolutely. Because they're rare.
Aaron, what do you do with your day? I mean, what's the average day for Aaron Lockhart on a Tuesday?
I usually wake up about 6 o'clock. The first hour of the day belongs to myself. I'm either doing some type of reading or studying. It could be some type of motivational thing. It could be a topic about real estate. It could be meditation. It could be listening to some good music, whatever is going to get my vibrations high, charge me up, get my mindset. By 7 o'clock, I'm usually in full-blown work mode, and I put in a couple hours in the beginning of the day, setting up my tasks for my team members, making sure that they're on point for the day, and then setting up my important tasks for the day and getting a lot of those things out the way, voicemails, emails, stuff like that. By 9 o'clock, I'm usually waking up my kids, and from 9 to like 11, it's usually daddy daycare. I have an 11-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 6-year-old. So I'm getting them up, making sure they've eaten breakfast, getting them all washed and everything. We do a little work around the house, and then I'm making arrangements to put them with, one of my neighbors or my sister or somebody that's going to watch them for a couple of hours so I can get some solid hours back with my business. By 11 o'clock, I'm back on the clock. I'm either running appointments or I'm back, I'm pounding the phones. One of those two things every day. I do that for about several hours, and then come about 3 or 4 o'clock, I'm at the gym, for the last month or so. That's been my routine as well. About midday, by 2, 3 o'clock at the latest, I'm at the gym. I hired a personal trainer and everything like that, so we go pretty hard. And then I'll come back for the day, pick up my kids, put a couple more hours in on the business, just wrapping up business for the day, set up the next day, and maybe trying to finish up my last little negotiations or whatever the case may be, and shutting it down usually between 6 or 7 o'clock. Unfortunately, I'm a machine. Unfortunately, I love what I do. So, I find ways to keep myself busy if I want to. My phone keeps ringing, so I can always keep answering the phones or whatever. But I'm a total take control guy. I mean, if I want to shut the phone off and just spend some time shooting baskets with my boys or whatever the case may be, those are liberties I do take for myself. I work hard for a reason. I work for myself for a reason. So. But that's my typical day. I break it up between enjoying some time with my kids and my family and getting things done for my business and getting things done for myself, which I think all of them are important.
Nice. And recently, over the last couple of months, I think your volume has increased, right? You've probably stepped up the game in the last couple of months from what I can see. And, to
Absolutely.
that point, has there been any mindset shifts or any, what's the key to the success recently? Have you made any, new decisions or instilled any new habits or maybe read any books that kind of started to shake you into this new routine?
Yeah. In fact, I'm not ashamed to tell people that I quit smoking. I quit a lot of bad habits. I quit drinking. I eat healthy. I make sure I get my rest. I even take power naps. I manage my stress. I manage my emotions. Yeah, over the last couple months, I definitely have had a significant shift in certain things that I was doing in my daily habits that I just, I'm really about breaking bad habits, and a lot of these things that I'm saying that I quit overnight. I literally went to sleep one way and woke up another, thanks to some prayer, some faith, and some strong support circle. But, yeah, I think those are all a direct effect from me working on my body, physically, as much as I've been working on my mind, and spiritually. I think it all plays a role. I think it's all a direct effect of how my success has been growing over the last couple months. My energy is up, my attitude is up, my expectations are up, which all that plays a role in what my results are.
Congratulations on all the life changes, Aaron. Watch some of that stuff happen. I also, personally, I have a little more than 3 years, I think it's been, since I've had a drink. So I noticed the same mindset shift and kind of did the same thing a little over 3 years ago and watched, my income double and watched my income double again and watched my income double again. And obviously my lifestyle's changed completely since I put down those, a bunch of bad habits. I joined the gym, got the personal trainer, started eating right. And it's amazing when you take care of your body, how your body seems to take care of everything else around you. It's night and day. And I watch a lot of people, Donald Trump doesn't drink, Warren Buffett doesn't drink. I mean, there's a countless other number of examples of people who are high achievers and achieved high level success in life. And hey, I'm just looking at them and seeing what works and following suit in my life.
Yeah, I would second that, man. It was tugging on me for a long time. And you're right, man. I mean, what I can accomplish within an 8-hour day has doubled as well. Like my capacity just for things has been increased. So yeah, I definitely I've noticed that as well. Some multimillionaires that I got a chance to rub elbows with didn't drink, didn't smoke, exercised regularly, went to bed early, woke up earlier, you know what I mean? Those types of things, they had did more by 8, 9 o'clock than most people do in an entire day, type of stuff. So those are definitely habits that I wanted to form for myself, and that's what I strive for. So, yeah, and I mean, you were even one of the catalysts for that as well. I noticed how, you reminded me of those things, and I even watched how, business has increased for you, and you told me those types of things. So all those things were markers in my life as far as things that I had to include in my journey, if you will.
Nice. Powerful stuff right there.
Powerful.
Yeah, powerful stuff right there. I mean, I don't know if anybody's listening on the other end and kind of like taking notes. I know when I used to hear that kind of conversation like we just had right there, Aaron, I would hear those kind of things being said. And when I was kind of in the grip of it, and I was the guy drinking too much and I was the pack and a half a day smoker, and thinking like, well, I'm showing up for life. I'm kind of getting it done. I'm sort of paying my bills. Everything's all right. And I would glaze over that stuff like, well, I can just do all this stuff. And, I'm sure I can assign a bunch of deals and I can make a bunch of money. Like, I didn't want to hear that part. So if there's anybody that's listening and, has some of those habits going on in life, I'm not like condemning you by any means, but I'd just love to be the example of the change in life. And I know that you are the same, Aaron. You would love to be the example for the person, hey, look, it's much better over here. And here's how we did it. This is a huge part of, our success today. So if that's something that you're struggling with, and you're listening right now, my prayers go out to you. And, it can be done and life's a whole hell of a lot better without, the weight of those things kind of pulling us down.
Absolutely.
So we're kind of getting to the top of the hour here, Aaron, and I appreciate you coming on and, giving us some time here out of your busy schedule to get the REI Diamonds interview locked in here. And I got one more question that I'd like you to answer in two ways. First, for the investor who's just getting started, and second, for the seasoned investor. Do you have any final jewels of wisdom to share with our listeners?
Yes, for newbies, for people that are just getting started in investing, there are so many different ways you can get into real estate. You'll hear about lease options and short sales and subject twos and wraparounds and wholesaling and fix and flips and buy and holds and then you're going to hear about you got to market for the leads, and then you have to make the calls for the motivated sellers, and then you got to negotiate the deals, and you got, you have to have a title company, an accountant, and a lawyer. You're going to hear all these different things. It's not easy to grow a real estate business, okay? It's not. There's a lot of different moving parts to it. Scaling the growth, having a plan, all those things are part of it. But the number one thing I tell people that I would love to tell myself, if I could talk to myself 3 years ago, is pick one thing and stick with it. One of the reasons that it took me a while to get consistently successful in real estate is because I would try something for 3 to 4 months, and if it didn't pop off the way I wanted to, I would shift to something else. And it wasn't until I went around in that vicious cycle and I did like 2 or 3 different things, and I kept getting to that 3 or 4 month mark where it wasn't working consistently, and so I tried something and I said, you know what, I'm not going to shift. I'm going to stick with this. I'm going to tighten my belt. I'm going to suffer, starve if I have to for a couple months till I figure it out and I get good at it. And that's what I did. And for me, that was turning motivated sellers into contracts, right? So there's a lot of other aspects of my business, marketing, building cash buyers, social media, whatever the case is. I outsource all that stuff, whether it's paying us VA $2 to $3 an hour from the Philippines, whether it's connecting with another realtor that knows short sales, another realtor that knows foreclosures, whatever it is, so that I'm not going to sit here and try to master all the 12 or 15 different techniques or 20 different, strategies of how to skin a lead and turning into something. I'm mastering 1 or 2, and the other 13, I know people that know how to do it, and I can funnel those leads out. That's by far one of the biggest advices I give for newbies. Don't try to come in here mastering everything at once. It will take you years to get stuff done that way. Pick a lane, get good at it, become an expert at it, and outsource the rest. For the seasoned investor, the biggest advice I could give people is, it comes a point where you have to understand the importance of relationships. I run into a lot of seasoned investors that the way that they got to that higher plateau where they were doing a large volume of deals on an annual basis is that they expanded their team, and they had a couple power wholesalers like myself underneath them that they're always, they don't have to go out looking for deals anymore. They're not even worried about marketing because they have solid guys like myself that's bringing them so many deals to choose from that it just saves them that time and effort, and they can really focus on what they're good at, which is keeping their contractors busy. So relationships is everything, and integrity is everything. If you're going to advertise yourself as somebody, say what you're going to, do what you're going to say. What's the word? Say what you mean and mean what you say. Definitely your word is everything. So seasoned investors, you guys, it takes a lot of, with real estate, the scales, the markets change. What's working right now is not going to work in a year from now. So, that you always have to be on top of your market as well. And wholesaling, knowing power wholesalers, it's one of the easy way to do that because we're in the trenches. We have to move as the tide moves. Where some people shift their strategy every year, I have to shift my strategy sometimes every 3 to 5 months, depending on what's going on in my market. So understanding what's going on in wholesaling can tell you a lot of what's going on in your market as well.
Nice. Well said. If anybody's listening in, Aaron, and they want to get some more information about you or your company, how can they find out more? Or maybe you'd like to share some contact information?
Okay, great. Thanks. I appreciate that. Yes, they can get in contact with me by my phone number. I don't mind sharing that, 630-410-9845. And they can also go to my website if they want to read some more things about me personally, which is firstintegritygroup.com. First is spelled out. There's definitely some things about my history and other ways to contact me and some inventory on there, and some of my blog topics are on there as well. So my website, firstintegritygroup.com, is a good start. I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter, so not hard to find.
Nice. Can we get the phone number one more time?
630-410-9845.
Darren, well, I appreciate you coming on the show. It's been informative here.
Hey, I enjoyed our conversation, Dan. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You got it. And thank you for listening to this episode of the REI Diamonds podcast, your source for real estate investment, jewels of wisdom. You can sign up to receive email updates of new weekly interviews at www.reidiamonds.com. As a bonus for signing up, I'll send you a free report on wholesaling titled Wholesale Houses 101, 9 Steps to Buy and Sell a House with No Money. That website again is www.reidiamonds.com. Until next time, this is Dan Breslin signing off.
Thanks for listening to the REI Diamond Interview. To receive the REI Diamonds newsletter and interview monthly, sign up now at www.reidiamonds.com.